Hello, dear soul. My name is Kate Harmony, and welcome to the Lightbearer's Library. In today's journal entry, I want to talk about why each of us should value ourselves as a unique, wonderful human being, and why this is so important for our physical health and our mental health. So, why? Why should we value ourselves more than we do? Because I would argue that our self-identity, you can talk about it as the concept that we have of ourselves, really informs the choices that we make within our lives and impacts how we think about ourselves. So, when I've been talking a lot about how we can be healthier mentally. And, I've talked about a lot of things that we can do physically with our bodies, recently talking about that we should dress our bodies well, that we should look after our homes and our spaces to help us feel better about them, that we should, have better posture that impacts our mind. And all of these things, the body and the mind are not separate things, right? They are one. They are intimately connected to one another. So what we do with our physical body impacts our mind, and our mind impacts our body. So we're constantly trying to just have a holistic view of ourselves. So when we have an identity of an high esteem for ourselves, then we will choose to engage in habits that are healthier for ourselves. So when we see ourselves as having an identity of, say, I'm a reader, then what does that do? It means that I'm going to be more inspired to pick up books, to read books, because I identify myself as a reader. When someone says, they're a vegetarian, well, then the habits and the food choices that they make will revolve around that identity of being a vegetarian. If you don't identify as a smoker, right? If you're not a smoker and someone offers you a cigarette, you're not going to have to think about whether you take the cigarette or not. So these identities or these concepts of ourselves are really important, and I think they can help us build good habits. Because what are the habits that we need to build to have a healthy body? Well, we need to be sleeping more, or better. And what does that mean? It means shutting off the screens, as much time as you possibly can before going to bed, hours if possible, right? Spending less time on our phones, just period, maximum. Just try and reduce it all the time, all the new phones, they look at, they know what you're using on your phone, like how much time you're spending. So just try and decrease that little bit by little bit, It's like eating healthy, clean, nutritious food, drinking clean water, exercising. When we see ourselves as someone who exercises, and pick an exercise that you enjoy doing, that makes you feel great. People, it's like, oh, well, I've heard that running is the best exercise for you. And it's like, I hate running. So you're never going to go running. You're never going to exercise because it's like you haven't identified yourself as a runner. But it's like, pick something that you love doing. Some people love swimming. Go swimming. Some people love biking. Go biking. I love doing yoga. So I do yoga every day. And, some days it's more restorative. And some days it's a full on practice where it's just the next day I'm aching or not aching, but, stiff or sore. And it's great using my body. But it's do the exercise that you feel inspired to do, that you can take on an identity of, I'm someone who does this exercise. And when we value ourselves enough as a wonderful human being who is deserving of good health, we will start to look after our bodies in healthy ways. And then that will ensure that we have a healthy mind, and that we're more positive. So it's both the mind and the body. We need to be cultivating all, both things at the same time. Can't expect to just, I need to think positive. Meanwhile, you've just disregarded all the things that I just talked about. So I think that's, when we can start to look after our physical health, our mental well-being will be much, much happier. But at the bottom of this, how we change our habits is by having an immense value for ourselves. Because I was thinking about this, is like, why do the big tech, I don't know, inventors, I can't remember. I'm thinking specifically of an interview that I heard, and I can't remember who he was, but he was in big tech, and he'd either invented something in social media or something to do with the smartphone, or he was owned part of the smartphone company. I don't know. But the point is that he did not allow his children to have smartphones and have social media at all. Why? Because he knew how bad these things were for us. So reducing our phone usage, reducing our social media, usage. I'm not on social media. I've not been on social media for 10 years. And I can tell you that I have so much more focus than most people around me. I don't use my phone. It's on flight mode most of the time. I use it to listen to Spotify when I, albums, and but it's I'm not constantly, my attention and my focus is my own. I choose where my focus and attention goes throughout the day, and that's because I've made choices in my life that are healthier. And that's how we gain back our mental well-being and our physical well-being, is by valuing ourselves as a wonderful, unique, individual humans, and that we deserve to be healthy and mentally well. So I would offer all of those practices to you that, change your identity. I'm someone who's healthy. I'm someone who exercises. I'm someone who prioritizes sleep in my life. So I make sure I go to bed at the same time. All the things. We deserve to be healthy and make healthy choices for ourselves. Choose identities, choose words, and listen for the things that you're saying to yourself. Listen to, I am, and what are you saying? If you're saying I am lazy, well, how's your life going to look? You're going to end up, being more lazy. If you change that is like, no, I engage in wonderful activity within my life, and it brings me joy and happy, whatever, right? It's like, so anyway, I could go on, but I'll let myself go on in this video where I talk about our thoughts, our seeds that we are planting in our mind, and that they come forth and blossom in our lives. So have a listen to that. If this was helpful to you, give me a thumbs up, and I can't wait to see you again. Signing off for today. XOXO, Kate.